If you're a teacher, you probably want your students to enjoy their learning. In addition, you probably want your students to achieve higher grades. If you answered yes to both those questions, then hopefully you will enjoy this presentation. This presentation is called Methods for Engaging Students and Recording Student Feedback. And I'm David Bryce from the Travel and Tourism Department at Leeds City College. In this presentation, lasting about 15 minutes, I'll hopefully provide you with some inspiration, motivational ideas for your students, so that your students can be inspired to learn in a more creative environment. We've probably all seen this classroom before. You've got one student who is yawning, a couple of students looking very bored. In preference, we would like all students to express themselves in class. If they do that, they will achieve higher grades. This is the sort of classroom we would like, isn't it? There was a study by Aspie and Roebuck in 1977 which said that learners who participated more, missed fewer college days, gained higher academic achievement, and had fewer disciplinary problems. And I think we would all agree with that scenario. I did a comparison of two groups that I teach to show what a difference motivation makes. The first group have an average attendance of 93%, and the number of merits in that group was about 44%. The second group had a lower attendance, around about 78%, and as you will see, their merits have reduced accordingly to around about 14%. It's vital, therefore, that all students attend regularly, and not just that, but they participate in class. If they do, they will achieve higher grades. Students also learn from each other. If we can use methods that encourage all students to participate in class, then that will lead students to copy each other and want to achieve higher grades too. One of the methods, of course, we'll use to assess learning is through formative and summative assessment. It's essential to deliver high quality feedback to learners because they can self-correct, and they need that information to improve their grades and hand in good assignments. But we can only do that if we've got the right information about our students. So how can we achieve this? Well, here are some old methods of getting feedback from students. You can use a whiteboard with a pen, you can use flip chart paper, and you can ask questions from your students. But I don't like whiteboards and pens. In 2 years of teaching, I've only used a whiteboard or flip chart paper once, would you believe? Why? What's wrong with this method? Well, on a whiteboard, information is cleared from that board and lost forever. Flip chart information is difficult to share. Quiet students don't give verbal feedback. Only 1 or 2 students may give an answer. And it's difficult to assess whether all students have the correct answer to a question. We all know that low participation rate is not good in the classroom. Why? Well, 1 student with the correct answer can fool us into thinking the whole class knows the answer. And we've all done that ourselves. We ask a question in class, 1 person gives us the answer, and we move on. We don't know whether all the students would have known that answer. Students need thinking time. When we ask a question, they need to give thought to the question before they can supply an answer. As teachers, we can't expect a very quick and easy answer. So everyone needs to work out things for themselves. We also need to create a fun environment and get everyone involved in activities in the classroom. And finally, and I think this is very important, we need to record student feedback for use outside the classroom. This is important because students can use this information in assignments, and they need to refresh their memories of what they've learned in the class. We know ourselves that often we need to read something twice, or maybe even 3 times before it sinks in. The same is true for students. Well, I've been using some methods in the classroom to record student feedback, and I'd like to share those with you now in this presentation. These are just a few things that I've used in my classroom. So the first one, this was a photograph of students' group work in the class. They had to look at the duties of a holiday entertainer, and the class worked in groups to come up with some ideas. So rather than lose that information, I wanted to share it with the rest of the group and the class. So I asked all the students to take photographs with their mobile phones so they could share the information, so that information was recorded so they could use it outside the classroom. Something else I really love is Padlet. It used to be called Wall Wisher. Students can use their mobile phones to answer questions and put ideas up on the virtual board on the wall. And this is a copy of a Padlet that I started about legal factors that affect passenger transport. Now, usually legal factors of anything are not very interesting, and it's difficult to get students interested in legal things in the classroom. This way, I found students got really into it, they thought things through, and all students have a voice. This is something I really like about it. Every student in my class has a voice and was able to contribute to the activity. Poll Everywhere is something else I've used quite regularly, and I love this. This is an example. I asked a question: do you agree that high-speed rail should be built? Students used their mobile phones to answer the question. I wanted their opinion to create a talking point. And as you can see, in this particular group, 75% of students thought that the high-speed rail link should not be built, as the money is better spent on other things. And that created a talking point, and it was really interesting. Something else I do is use video in the classroom. I use a video camera to record welcome meetings, for example, and this can be used outside the classroom to help students improve their presentation skills. Audioboo is something else which is very, very useful. I can record role-play situations, for example, customer service, complaint scenarios, and that can be recorded and used once the role-play has finished. Something I've just started using as well is QR codes. This is fun and interactive. Students can use a scanner on their mobile phones to scan the code, and you can link to a web page, a YouTube video. This particular QR code links to our Moodle quiz, which I put together so students can use the quiz on their mobile phones, and I can then see how well they've done in that quiz. So how do students react to technology? Well, I did a test. I polled 63 students, and this is the reaction I got. I asked the question, do you like using technology in the classroom? Now, the overall response was yes, they did like using technology in the classroom. There were a few who said in the poll that they didn't like using technology, and when I questioned them more about it, it was due to the fact that they couldn't get a Wi-Fi signal on their mobile phone, And surprisingly, some students were a little bit nervous about using new technology. Hopefully, the more you use it, the better students will become at using the technology. Geoff Petty said, students need activity to provide feedback to the teacher, and it's a window into the student's understanding. So what's the conclusion? Participation leads to achievement. Teachers need to engage all learners with a range of activities, and you should record student feedback to use later with assignments to improve understanding and improve grades. Thank you for listening.